They're all in the know. Pick some winners and then we say, let's go. So come on.
Welcome into a live edition of Betting Weekly Hardball on this Monday morning. No case of the Mondays, though. I'm Doug Kezirian alongside professional bettor Chris Macero, who is based in San Diego at his home with the lovely memorabilia behind him. We're getting a nice work week started. Going to break down some baseball. And just a reminder, we are every single day right here on the Bet Rivers Network, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, Monday through Friday. We will have a show on this July 4th because baseball is such a big part of our Independence Day. Chris, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Great to start the fresh new week. Trying to find some streaks. I was mentioned on the Friday show with the Bull that it'd be funny if the Marlins kept their 4-game win streak going. And sure enough, they got 7 games in a row now as they swept the D-backs. Sometimes these crazy teams that aren't that good go on these crazy winning streaks, and vice versa with the good teams on the losing streak. So hopefully we'll see if we can catch another lightning in a bottle this week.
Very prophetic of you, but sometimes in the NFL, those bye weeks come when you don't want them. Marlins are off today when they've won 7 straight. So maybe not a day off when you're rolling along that you want, but we'll see if they continue to resume things tomorrow. An abbreviated card on this Monday, but we have some really interesting matchups and some pitchers taking the mound that I think offer some intriguing storylines. We start in Philadelphia, this game on MLB Network. So I think it's probably going to have a high handle, all things considered. And you have the Phillies hosting the Padres. So 2 solid teams that are double digits or almost double digits above 500. Zach Wheeler going for Philly against Matt Waldron for San Diego. Wheeler, really sort of those under-the-radar guys. How about the month of June for him? A .78 ERA, 4 excellent starts in a row after getting touched up in Atlanta, a game I had the Phillies in. We touched on it that day. It was a rained-out game, so he got moved a day. His wife, I believe, was giving birth. He had some back issues. Chris Sale was lights out. There was heavy steam on him in that game. Something was off because the Phillies were home dogs to the Braves. But since then, he's worked out whatever issues there were with the back and whatnot, and he's been on a roll. Chris, how are you seeing this game in Philly with the Phillies minus 230 favorites at Bet Rivers?
Yeah, this one jumped out to me as, hey, I'm looking at the Phillies, but it's kind of tough to play it at minus 230. I'm not one of those guys that's jumping on these big favorites. Although, how can you really get behind the Padres, who blew yesterday's game? They were up 2-1 going into the 9th. First, the Reds. They had an error on their third baseman. They might not have called it an error, but it was an error. And next thing you know, the floodgates open. De La Cruz scores to tie it. And then they got the walk-off hit by Benson. Tough to back the Padres. Waldron, first start of the year. His career has been below average, 8-14 with a 4.79 ERA. So be tough to get on the Padres side. I was trying to look into like the lineups and who's hit well against Wheeler. And one of the facts that I did notice was that Wheeler, in 92 at-bats against the Padres' current team, he only has 18 strikeouts. That's 1 strikeout per 5.1 at-bats for San Diego. But for the rest of the league this season, he has 355 at-bats, pitched against, and he has a whopping 126 strikeouts. So a strikeout rate of 2.81 per at bat. So I was kind of digging in. Maybe you got to look for an under strikeout per op, as the Padres are one of the least likely teams to strike out, bottom 5 in the league. You could find under 5.5 plus 125, or under 6.5 minus 157. I'm going to tend to lean to this prop under Wheeler, just due to the fact that based on the numbers here, the Padres are not likely to strike out, and they are one of the least likely teams to strike out this season. So I'm not going to bet the game, but I am going to play under Wheeler, both 5.5 and 6.5 on the K props.
All right, so at Bet Rivers, under 5.5 plus 135, so nice juice there, and 6.5 is minus 148. It's so funny that you bring up the Ks because I was looking at those as well. Wheeler, 12 straight starts of at least 6 strikeouts. But to your point, the Padres rank 3rd fewest in terms of strikeouts per game average, and you did a deeper dive with the strikeouts of the current lineup. So that is certainly interesting. He's been lights out, but I like it. You're taking a stand. So under 5.5 strikeouts plus 135, under 6.5 minus $1.48. Certainly can get behind that. And do you like the side of the Padres? If Wheeler's not getting his Ks, that means his stuff isn't really electric against this type of lineup. Any value, or do you just think the Pods are kind of dead in the water?
No, I mean, I'm not going to play the Padres, but it just based on the numbers. I mean, he's averaging 6 1/3 innings per outing. He's giving up 4 hits, 1.5 walks per game. That basically comes to the numbers that he's facing 24.5 batters per game. So just based on the numbers with what the Padres have done with him in the past, it just breaks down to 4.8 strikeouts per game. Just based on those numbers, that's where he should be. So it's just a little bit of a math equation, and I'm gonna lean towards the math here. And just based on like you said, third least likely team to strike out in Major League Baseball, I feel like there's value at under 5.5. Most people don't want to play an under K prop with Wheeler because he's been so good striking out batters this season. But against the Padres, it's a little bit different. He just hasn't had much success striking out the lineup that they have tonight. So I'm going to go under both of those 5.5 and 6.5 and just leave the game alone.
Love it. It's such a stress too, with 2 strikes on so many counts. You're just sitting there watching and sweating out whatever your bet is. So it's a fun action if you're into the crazy, stressful life of betting that so many of us have chosen. Okay, let's go to. So that's an interleague game. Sorry, that was a National League game. So let's go to some AL East showdown. Yanks at the Blue Jays. Interesting pitching matchup because Rodon's going for the Yanks and Max Scherzer going for the Blue Jays with his second start after his debut this season was so shaky, all things considered. Yanks road chalk at minus $1.50. Yanks still hanging on. They had that little bit of a swoon, but they're still in first place, 1.5 up on Tampa. And here they are north of the border in Toronto, and Yanks 150 on the road chalk.
Yeah, Toronto pretty solid at home, 25-16. So you kind of at first would say, hey, I kind of like the plus money on Toronto, but really tough to back Max Scherzer. Last time out, 5 innings, 3 earned runs, 3 walks, only 4 strikeouts. So I'm just not sure where we stand with Max Scherzer right now. It's really tough to get confident behind him. Rodon's been, pretty excellent on the road, 4-2, 2.57. He's had a great year. Interesting stat was yesterday was the first time in 17 games that the Yankees went over the total. They had a stretch of 16 straight, club record for most under games in a row. A couple guys that you might be looking for props if you're inclined to play them. Vlad Guerrero, 8 for 12 versus Rodon with a home run, 4 RBIs, 3 walks. So that's 2 doubles as well. So maybe a total basis prop. Maybe you get a little plus money over 1.5. Stanton also in 4 home runs and 25 at bats against Scherzer, and LeMahieu 6 for 16 at 375 clip also against Scherzer. So 3 guys that have some pretty decent stats in this game going against the opposing pitchers. I'm not going to have a play on this game. Just I don't trust Scherzer. And the Yankees are so on the road, and Toronto's been really solid at home. But I'm just gonna pass on the game. Maybe dabble into a total basis prop on Vlad Guerrero Jr.
Yeah, I'm real close to playing the Yankees. I think 150 is my max I would get involved with. I just wish it were a little cheaper, but Scherzer's just a name at this standpoint. And like you mentioned, nothing to get excited about after his first outing of the year. And price is right, as we like to say. So certainly a matchup to watch. Not going to get involved, although Adam Osimo looks like he's going to get involved in the comment section. He says, let's go Blue Jays. All right. So either he's a Blue Jays fan or a backer taking Scherzer and the plus money here. Certainly can understand that. And just a reminder, we always like you to get involved in the conversation. So join the conversation, jump into the comment section. Let us know your thoughts, your likes, dislikes with the show. Opinions you have on games, questions you have for us. We'd be happy to answer those. And don't forget, we need the currency that is the life of YouTube. So please subscribe and like to the show, the Bet Rivers Network. You get alerts when the shows are coming up, and we have specials, things like that. We had a Wimbledon special last Friday during the men's draw. We have a new fight UFC podcast as well. So a lot of good stuff. And join the newsletter as well. It's free. Tennis breakdowns with Wimbledon going on. That began today. bettingweeklystudios.com is your home for all of that. So go check it out. And there's great content in the newsletter, that is. So Mentioned the Yanks and Blue Jays. Red Sox also in action, but they have an interleague game. Boston hosting Cincinnati in what likely is the pitching matchup of the day. Garrett Crochet goes for Boston at Fenway. And Chase Burns, the youngster, the number 2 overall pick out of Wake, goes for Cincinnati. He struck out 6 Yankees in his big league debut to start the game. How about that? 6 straight Ks, making it look easy. Finished with 8. Didn't pitch great in terms of his stat line of earned runs and hits and everything, but 8 Ks in his debut. And here he's in Boston with the Green Monster in left. It's got to be a little different for a rookie pitching and for the first time there. Red Sox sizable favorites, $190, and Crochet on the run line. Plus money though, plus 118.
Yeah, this was shocking that the price came out that high. We think we're going to get some strikeouts tonight or what? I mean, 2 of the top Red Sox are 3rd and Reds are 8th in baseball with most strikeouts. 2 absolute flamethrowers on the mound tonight. We'll see if Chase Burns can repeat that first outing. How about this for opening your major league career? You host the Yankees and then you go to Fenway Park for your second start. So, baptism by fire. We'll see the strikeout props. You're not getting any bargain here. 6.5 over plus 117 for Burns. You got to go to 7.5 minus 143 for Crochet. But I was at that Crochet game Tuesday night. I couldn't believe they took him out. They took him out to start the 8th, but he was dealing. He was just in complete control of the game. Over 10 strikeouts. He seems like he's in a really good groove right now. He just hasn't had any luck. He can't get a win at home. He's 0-3 with a 2.13 ERA at home. It's unbelievable. He hasn't notched a win at Fenway yet. So I'd be looking at some K props, but like I said, they're not cheap because they know both of these teams are prone to strike out a lot. But I could not get on top of the Red Sox minus that 190 price, especially off a loss. Reds feeling good after the walk-off win yesterday. So this is just probably maybe just a wait and see, maybe get into a K prop at some point. But right now, you can't really back this Red Sox team. They just can't get out of their own way. They can't get a big streak going. It just doesn't seem to be their season.
Amish farmer with a little bit of a fun fact. Also, shout out to you, Chris. He goes, Chase Burns is a Paisan. He was born in Naples, Italy. So native from the good country, and then he came over to the States, and here he is pitching. And I agree. I was on Burns over his strikeouts against the Yanks, and it's nice to cash a ticket that quickly. But I do think the Green Monster in left has to affect him a little bit. So I'm uneasy doing it. I'm not betting the under. Thought about it. I do think the Red Sox handle him, though. I think he's got to learn to pitch a little bit in the bigs. He's got obviously electric stuff, and he's going to have to learn how to pitch at Fenway. I just think it's a different animal. I think the Red Sox get the win, but I'm not going to pay to see it at minus 190. Let me, Chris, I know you're interested in trends. Can I interest you in this one? The Reds' last 6 road games against AL East opponents. Okay, over the total. What do you make of this one at 8?
Yeah, I mean, the Reds are fun to watch. They get a lot of electric players, a lot of guys that steal bases, a lot of guys that go first to third, second to home. So, sometimes when you look at how unfundamentally sound the Red Sox have been, which I've mentioned on this show before, maybe that might play into the Reds' hands. I will say, though, it's going to be tough for them to get on base. Crochet has faced 10 Reds hitters in his career, only 10, and he has 8 strikeouts. De La Cruz struck out the only 2 times he's faced him. So maybe Crochet just, shuts him down. Maybe it's a low-scoring game with these two flamethrowers and 2 teams that are prone to a lot of strikeouts. It's tough to bet overs in this Red Sox lineup. I'm telling you, just a lot of holes, a lot of young players. You lose your 2 best hitters, Devers and Bregman, and it just doesn't seem to have much around them. There's no core consistency right now in this lineup. So be tough. I know they had a bunch of runs on Saturday. They put up 15, but right back again yesterday with not hitting much at all. So it'd be tough to play an over. I would probably think that Crochet gets to 7.5 strikeouts. If you want to lay 143, I feel like they're going to keep him in the game a little longer. I mean, the bullpen has just not been getting the job done. And you got to leave your ace in there one time. Let him get a win at home. I mean, just let the guy get off the schneid at home.
It's really remarkable. I didn't realize he hadn't won at home until you brought that up. That's pretty remarkable.
All 7 wins are on the road. Yeah, unbelievable.
So we had Scooble pitch last night. Sunday Night Baseball was obviously awesome. Crochet is tied for second lowest odds to win Cy Young. Do you have any interest at plus 450 for him with Scooble, the obviously the favorite? He's minus 250. That's a big price. Here we are, not even in July yet.
I feel like that game last night kind of just, unless Scooble gets hurt or goes completely off the rails, I kind of feel like they gave him the Cy Young last night. They were just talking about it. It was a marquee game. There's Detroit Tigers are never. I mean, when are the Detroit Tigers Minnesota Twins on Sunday Night Baseball?
Right.
It was kind of odd to see. It wasn't at Fenway. It wasn't Yankee Stadium. It wasn't Dodger Stadium. It was a different. It wasn't Phillies Mets. It was just weird to see it, and they just kind of hyped him up, and he was pretty electric. I took a shot with Minnesota last night. I thought off the last two starts, Scooble was a little bit off against some mediocre lineups. Oakland, the Sacramento A's and Pittsburgh. He kind of struggled his last two starts, but he did not struggle at all last night. He looked amazing. And like I mentioned before, I have a long shot, 120 to 1 ticket on him for MVP. Maybe Raleigh wears down, maybe Judge, he's been prone to injury throughout his career. Probably not going to happen. But if one of those two or both of them go down, Scooble would be the next guy I would think that'd be in contention for MVP. He's had a fantastic year, ERA, just that 2 or below. And, he's just been the world for Detroit. Detroit's the best team in the American League. So excited for the Detroit fans. Maybe they get a little run to the World Series this year. I'd be happy for me.
Updated MVP odds, Judge minus 1430 currently at Bet Rivers. But to Chris's point, Scooble tied for the 4th lowest odds at 40 to 1. So he's in the stratosphere, if you will. You need a Judge injury or massive cold streak. Raleigh and Bobby Witt Jr. next in line, but Raleigh's plus 450. So he's obviously in that tier, and then 34 to 1 for Bobby Witt Jr. So Scooble's there. And I agree with you. So much of my MVP voting in the NFL is end of the season, Sunday night and Monday night games. Like if you get just Chris Collinsworth going over the top, just gushing about a quarterback. And when Rodgers won his second of the recent run where he went back to back, when he won his second, they killed Tennessee of all teams in the snow at Lambeau, and it was just so automatic. So yeah, these national television games have eyeballs, have influence. If it's an analyst or even a play-by-play guy with huge credibility, so that's something to keep in mind. The last month or two of the season, that will have influence as we get higher profile games and higher profile televised games. That certainly weighs on voters, all things considered. But baseball is definitely a statistically driven sport, more so than most. Speaking of national television, Giants and Diamondbacks tonight on FS1. A little late night action for those on the East Coast. Logan Webb against Ryan Nelson. Arizona's lost 4 straight. Just got swept by those Marlins you mentioned, and then also lost to the White Sox. So not exactly murderer's row of opponents for Arizona, but Logan Webb comes to town. Now we've documented this. He's much better at home over the last handful of years. So this is not like just this season or anything like that. His splits are pretty distinct in terms of favoring the homes. But now he's on the road. Giants $143 road chalk here, 8.5 your total. I mentioned the D-backs coming in scuffling a bit, but now they get a division rival in their house with Logan Webb on the bump. For me, it's Giants or pass. I know the splits favor Webb on the road. You kind of don't get the right value, but I think it's a time to fade Arizona here. And Webb's still been, beyond serviceable on the road. Pitched well at Dodger Stadium for his lone road start in June. Had an ERA under 2 the entire month of 5 starts. Again, Giants are pass for me, and I'm thinking about pulling the trigger for San Francisco. I just don't love their offense.
Yeah, like you mentioned, Arizona, 5 of the last 9 games, the losses to, Marlins, 1 to the Rockies, 1 to the White Sox. So not a great stretch for them. A team that had a lot of promise, but a lot of injuries catching up to them. And I'm not really sure what they have left. They do have an interesting pitcher on the hill tonight, though. This Ryan Nelson, 4-2 with a 3.71. He's more of a reliever, but he has started 2 of his last 3 have been starts. An interesting stat: at home, he has pitched 15 2/3 scoreless innings consecutively. So he had 5 innings with 0 runs against San Diego, 4 innings, 0 runs against Washington, 6 2/3, 0 runs with Pittsburgh. The Washington outing was a relief appearance, But the other two games, his team did get the win. So interesting that this Nelson is a pretty good pitcher, especially at home. So it is 3 home starts, 32 innings pitched, 2.25 ERA. So just a little caution if you're going to jump on Webb, and we know he struggles on the road. The last 5 D-backs games also have gone over the total, so something you want to look at there. If you're playing the total, the last 5 have gone over.
I should mention all this bashing of the Snakes. San Francisco's not exactly coming in on fire. They've lost 5 of 6, including losing to the White Sox, 2 of those 3, and then they were swept by the Marlins. So both these teams scuffling a little bit. I'm actually going to play the under here, Chris. I just don't trust the San Francisco lineup. I like Webb. D-backs haven't got their act together, and I think you're onto something with Nelson. So I'll play the under 8.5 in this game. A little late night action, like I said, on FS1. But you're a trends guy. Do you have caution there with the D-backs going over lately?
Well, it seems like their offense is doing okay, and their pitching's been atrocious. So it is a weird one though, because this Ryan Nelson hasn't given up any runs in his last almost 16 innings. So tough call. I'm not going to play the total. If anything, I would maybe lean D-backs, but I'm not going to play that either because I don't play teams on 4-game losing streak. So it's just a stay away game for me.
Play some nerfies here and there. It's only minus 118 for a no run in the first inning. It's the Yerfie is minus 118 as well. I'd be inclined to, when you want to isolate Nelson and his electric stuff, maybe do a nerfie as well with a minus 118.
Yeah, you could also think about a nerfie in that Red Sox game too, with the the strikeout guys coming in versus a bunch of strikeout hitters. I think you have to lay a little bit of juice on that one for the nerfie with the 2 big aces up there. So speaking of nerfies, in the next game we have one.
Okay, so I am going to play my nerfie in this Giants D-backs game. So a lot of pressure on the first inning here, but I'll play the nerfie under at minus 118. I guess under is the nerfie. So yeah, no run first inning for those new to baseball betting and the fun acronyms as well. Okay.
Check Doug's Twitter around 6:45 Pacific time. It should be very exciting.
All right. So another National League game, Cardinals and Pirates. Each team's kind of rolling along, swept the weekend series. They've each riding a 3-game win streak. Fetty going for St. Louis, Haney going for the Pirates in this one. Cardinals $1.12. So it's a coin flip game here. And you were suggesting a nerfie here.
Yes. So the nerfie in the last 22 St. Louis Cardinal Pittsburgh Pirate games is 20-2. So no run has been scored in 20 of the 22 last games between these two teams. So I'm going to stick to that trend. And I also like it because these two pitchers have had great success against the opposing lineups. Pirates are only batting .211 versus Fetty in 71 at-bats. And the Cards are only batting .161 against Haney and over 50 at-bats as well. So, their records don't look good. They just haven't got a lot of run support. But I feel like tonight this is a kind of a low-scoring game. Pittsburgh, doesn't have a great offense. And I like the way Haney's pitched, especially at home, 2-2, the 2.95 ERA. So let's go no run first inning, a nerfie here in this game. And I tend to lean towards the under, but I'm not going to get involved. I'm just going to play the nerfie because I don't want to be two teams are hot right now, both on 3-game winning streaks. So I don't want to step in front of either one of the teams, but I will go with the nerfie in the first inning.
All right. I like it. Very good research. 20-2. What do you make of that? Is that scouting? We know the Pirates offense has been pretty anemic all season, but what do you make of that kind of a trend? Is it just like the video room, the pitching, the scouting of each of the teams top of the lineup?
I guess you could just say it's one team that's really never had a great offense in a long time. The Cardinals have been, ho-hum the last couple of years, and they just play each other a lot. Division rivals, see each other, familiarity. Maybe these pitchers are just who knows? It's baseball, crazy streaks. Right. It's just the freakiest thing of all time. Like, how on earth does the Bronx Bombers go under 16 times in a row? It just doesn't. It does not make sense, but it happens.
Well, it's having one great hitter and nothing else, and then some pitching's been overperforming this year.
Yeah, and it's guys who just don't do any fundamental things like hit the other way or go from first to third or steal base. It's just a home run or nothing for the Yankees. It's if you're a Yankee fan, great, they're in first place, but it's it's going to be a little frustrating to watch when it's either home run or strikeout.
Especially if you're talking baseball and when it gets colder out there, you're going to need pitching, which they seem to have. And then also, you got to manufacture runs sometimes. By the way, about this Cardinals game, Cardinals Pirates, Mark O in the comments section, Cardinals money line. Fetty pitched well against the Pirates, and they've been hitting. So certainly understand that rationale. Feels like a pretty cheap price for St. Louis against this Pirates offense. But like you said, Chris, they've won 3 in a row. There's some things to like here. So you'll go nerfy for that game. I like it. That is exciting. And I talked about this at least when legalization happened in 2018, and certain sports led themselves to betting, and golf is one because the pace of the game and betting each hole, things like that. And baseball too, half innings, the break between the half innings, the pitching chain. You can get involved. You can bet number of hits in a half inning, stuff like that. So there's ways to get involved in this. So Nerfy's a nice, quick little result. And I would only play the Cardinals here, but I understand the apprehension on Pittsburgh. But don't you think the Cardinals are pretty cheap here, Chris?
They kind of are, but there was a move to the Pirates overnight where the line opened up. Pittsburgh was plus 110. Now they're it's kind of like a toss up. They're kind of minus 110, so they did get a little bit of money. I think it's because Haney at home has been rather good. His last 3 starts, all losses, but they're all on the road. His last 2 home starts, 11 innings pitched, only 2 earned runs, 9 strikeouts. So for some reason, Haney pitches better at home. It's just one of those things. He's comfortable at home. Maybe when he's on the road, he's going out all night. Who the heck knows? But for some reason, he pitches well at home. And the Pirates, 23-21, have a winning home record, even though they're not a good team. So just a little caution to the wind if you're on the Cardinals.
And if you're into this and you like the pitching matchup, first 5, the under 4.5 is plus 100. So an even money bet, something to consider if you want to get involved. There is 2 games we haven't touched on yet that are on today's slate, which is, my quick math, 8 games. So we've touched on 6 of them. Let's start in, Florida, because Tampa Bay is the home team against the Athletics. So 2 teams that are not playing in their usual stadiums meet in the minor league park of the Yanks. And the Rays have Rasmussen going on the bump with the Lopez going for the Athletics. This Tampa team I've mentioned, they closed the gap in the AL East, only a game and a half back of the Yanks, 10 games above 500. Both these teams playing actually a little better, even though the A's have come back to earth. $167, just too rich for backing a Tampa team. But this Rays squad, Chris, just kind of grinds out wins. They do nothing sexy, for lack of a better word, but they have a lot of solid hitters, and they're, move the sticks, to borrow a football phrase.
Yeah, I needed one more win from him yesterday to hang around for the most wins in June. Just didn't get there with Tampa. But hey, it was a good sweat. It's one of my favorite bets each month to take a look at some teams, try to find some big prices. And Tampa was pretty big, 28-1, almost got there. But this game, this Rasmussen has been really solid at home. He has only a 4-5 record at home, but a 2.16 ERA. So this would be Tampa or pass for me. I'm not going to play it at the moment. It's tough to bet the A's 19-25 on the road. This Lopez 2-2 with a 4.5 ERA on the road. Not great. Although the A's have been hitting a little bit. They've got a lot of home run guys. So Kurtz has been having a great year. One of the I saw he was the second fastest to 15 home runs as a rookie. Second to Mark McGwire. So they're hitting some home runs for the A's, but I would be on Tampa or pass in this game. Tampa's just superior team at home. Rasmussen's been great at home. So
fair enough. Another game we have is the Rangers hosting the Orioles, and Baltimore, one of the bigger disappointments this season. Righted the ship for a little bit of a stretch, but they're still 11 games under 500. Texas, the offense is their bugaboo. We know that. Patrick Corbin on the bump, and this is a pick'em game, and it looks like the spider bite has healed because Corbin just has not been the same of late. He was awesome for a while, and now I always get sort of twisted with these situations. Corbin just pitched against this Orioles lineup, gave up 5 earned in 5 innings. Now he's getting them again. Now this time at home instead of at Camden Yards. But it's still Patrick Corbin. I can't get involved. I like Trevor Rogers. I think he's good. So I would be looking at Baltimore in this game, but there's got to be better things to do than backing the Orioles on the road.
Yeah, when they have that back-to-back pitching matchup, I usually tend to go to the over because the teams just saw the pitcher. But for some reason, 11 of the last 12 Texas Rangers games versus the AL East have gone under the total. So that's a pretty big trend. I will say one thing: the O's are really hitting Corbin really well. 321, 2 home runs, 12 RBIs, and only 56 at bats. And Rogers, like you said, pitched really well last week. 8 innings, 3 hits, no runs. Pretty impressive outing considering he was pretty much a flop at the trade deadline last year when they picked him up. He really didn't contribute much at all to the Orioles pitching staff. I'm going to stay away from this game. It's tough to back the Orioles on the road, only 17 wins and 42 games on the road, so 17 and 25. Texas has been pretty good at home, 24 and 18, but it's tough to back Corbin versus those stats. So I'm going to steer clear of this game.
I have a bet for you. Okay. This is an option in Bet Rivers. It's a 3-way line. The team with the more hits in the game, so they can have exactly the same, or you can do kind of -0.5 and a prop. Orioles to have more hits in the game, -121.
I mean, based on the batting average stats and what we got from Rogers last week, it looks like the Orioles would be, they should be a lock. But we know how that goes. It should be. I mean, they like to hit against Corbin. I mean, that's in the numbers. So, that's a pretty decent sample size to have 321, 2 home runs, 12 ribbies, and only 56 at bats. Pretty good sample size. So, yeah, it's not a bad number if you want to just, get a little action on this game. Orioles more hits than the Rangers.
I've never made this bet before, so I'm tempted to do it. I think if you're going to do it, I think this is the situation. Like you said, this is the situation to do it. The stats certainly suggest it. So maybe we'll come back to that. I want to check in on some of our friends here in the comments section. Okay, Amish Farmer talking about Lopez. 2 games blew up his ERA. All the others 3 runs or less. So that's something to keep in mind. Like sometimes, we had that with Charlie Morton earlier this year, who got just rocked. Or sorry, who am I thinking of? The Astros pitcher who took 2 years. Anyways, he gave up like 9 earned in the first game and then settled down. And he's been sort of a bet on pitcher as well. So that's something to keep in mind. What do you make of Lopez, the Amish Farmer's defense of Lopez?
Hey, that's a good stat. It's just I just really don't like playing the A's on the road. I don't like playing the A's, period. So
exactly. There was a fun time when they won at Dodger Stadium and they were playing well to start the year. They were getting plus 240. But now it's not. Remember, didn't they go 1-20 in a stretch recently?
It was a bad stretch. Yeah, at one point, they were only a game back, and I had them I took a little flyer on them before the season at some big number for the division. And I was they were offering me a cash out early already on the thing. And I was like, wow. And then they went 1-20 for a 21 game stretch. So yeah, the A's aren't going to win the division, but yeah, maybe Lopez pitches well. Tampa's been an under team a lot. So, it's only under 8. You can maybe look towards the under because I think the Rasmussen stats are there 2.16 and 9 starts at home. So, that's a pretty decent sample size as well.
They're getting plus money, like I mentioned. Well, that 1-20 stretch will hurt you because they are tied-ish for the 3rd most units this season being down. So obviously the Rockies are the worst. Then it's the lovely Baltimore Orioles at 19 units down. Sorry, I misspoke. The Braves are the worst, or second worst at 19 units down. And then there's 3 teams that are around 12 units. The Athletics, the Orioles, and the White Sox. So, and that just speaks to what the perception is, what the market was for a team like Baltimore, who was struggling out of the gates, expected to outperform. Now the White Sox we knew, the Athletics we knew, but that 1-20 stretch will certainly hurt the bottom line. Hopefully none of you out there were martingaling them because that did not go well. Mark O chimes in, wind blowing out in Tampa or wherever the Rays play. Bet on Mother Nature and take the over. So he likes the over. You mentioned the under, maybe with these pitchers going with Rasmussen at home has been solid. Really tough game. That Orioles Rangers game, I keep coming back to that. But Okay. So that's going to do it for our slate, our 8-game slate. Just to recap, we had some Nerfies. You like Wheeler under strikeouts, both 5.5 and 6.5. I'm on the Nerfie in Arizona with the D-backs hosting the Giants. I also like under 8.5 in the game. And then I'll add more hits. Baltimore -121 in that game. So it's a three-way line. And if they tie, that's +700 if you want to bet on that. So they have to have more hits, so -0.5 in the total number of hits. But I like your Nerfy getting involved there in Pittsburgh with Cardinals and Pirates. And with those lineups, I can get behind that for sure. I like your style there. And that's favorable juice, all things considered, at -112. Chris, any final parting shots here?
Yeah, so I'm just going to go under Wheeler and strikeout props. I'm going to play that Nerfy like you mentioned, and I'm probably going to play Vladimir Guerrero over 1.5 total bases, as he has a pretty substantial track record against Rodon, 8 for 12 with 2 doubles, a home run, and 4 RBI. So let's see if Vladdy can get going. He got going for me on Friday night versus the Red Sox. Hopefully he can get going again tonight at home against the Yankees.
All right. And that I'm really curious to see how some of these games turn out, and that pitching matchup as well. Maybe Chris Sale can get that elusive first win at Fenway Park this season, as all of his wins have come on the road. That's the stat of the day that I did not realize as we head into the month of July. So, Chris, you'll be back on the baseball show later in the week. Appreciate the insight. We also have Betting Weekly Fast Break coming up top of the hour. A lot of NBA futures movement, and also the breakdown the WNBA Commissioner's Cup game tomorrow with Caitlin Clark's status up in the air. And we're going to look at some futures as well. We've seen some massive changes in the market and some good betting opportunities in the W. We'll check in with Wes Reynolds. Again, that's top of the hour every weekday, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. So for Chris Macero and all the talented people behind the scenes that make it all look good and do such a wonderful job, I'm Doug Kezirian, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.